Okay. On track.
Well, it'll be a big.
Yeah, well, they're just gonna see it from
Yeah,
right here, so.
I was just worried that it's like 30 feet away.
Sister Wade. Hi, Harvey.
How do you do?
How are you?
Good minutes. I did. I was going to start it first. I have to be somewhere else to start at 6:30.
Whoa.
How are you? Okay.
Towards you. Mic's on.
Now it's on. Just have.
To the rest of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start in about 5 more minutes. We have some people who are in transit, so we'll just sit tight for a few minutes, okay?
fix the exit light. They gotta fix their exit light over here. Our favorite people, one of the best one is when I was doing the polls, the Democratic primary, they were going out. How come I can't vote today? You're not a Democrat. I said, what, do you work for the town or something? I'm actually.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please rise and join with me in pledging allegiance to the flag, and then if you would please remain standing for a moment, please. I pledge allegiance. I'd like to ask Pastor Millett for your thoughts and prayers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today we are remembering the families in Florida as they are bracing for Hurricane Ian. We all know something about hurricanes. We went through it some years ago, and so we're praying for them. We are remembering them in our thoughts and prayers. Also tonight, Maureen, we are remembering her family. She lost her mother recently, 97 years of age, Maureen Fitzgerald. So we are remembering her as well, if we can just have a moment. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a. Can you hear me? Is my microphone working? Hello? Okay. We are having our fourth meeting, and a number of people in the audience. Excuse me. A number of people in the audience have been to meetings before, so I'll excuse me when you hear some of the words I'm going to use, because I've tried to read this at every one of these hearings, just to get the idea as to what we're here for, why we're here, and what we need to do in order to succeed as a commission. This is the fourth hearing held by the Temporary Redistricting Advisory Commission. We are here to fulfill our obligation under the Nassau County Charter. As stated in the 1995 final report of the Commission on Government Revision, the function of the Commission is to recommend one or more plans to the county legislature for dividing the county into legislative districts. The Commission consists of 11 members, with one non-voting party, that's me, appointed by the county executive, and 5 members appointed by the presiding officer, and 5 appointed by the minority leader. The Commission permits but does not require public hearings. The prior reapportionment processes established the tradition that permissive meetings seeking public input should be held. I just mentioned to people before, this is the first time I've been in this room in 10 years. Happy to be back. The proceedings have been open, fair, and transparent to the public. The county legislature allocated $985,000 to fund the work of the commission. The allocation is divided equally between the commissioners appointed by the presiding officer and the minority leader. However, a portion of the $984,000 was set aside for stenographic services, the American Sign Language interpreters, and other shared costs of the commissioners for each delegation. Each delegation of appointees divides the balance of the money to purchase the needed net mapping technology, software, hiring experts, counsel, and other staff as they deem necessary. In developing a map or maps, the Commission must comply with both federal and state laws. If and when a map or maps are drawn, they should be released to the public before being submitted to the full legislature for its consideration. I point out the fact that we are an advisory commission. We don't make the decisions. We give recommendations based upon the recommendations that you all have for us. The release should be on a date certain, with ample time to hear public comment after the final hearing. The county legislature will also conduct a hearing on a map or maps sent to it for consideration. The county legislature may reject, adopt, revise, amend the redistrict plan or plans recommended by this commission, or adopt any other redistricting plan that it deems constitutional, legal, and based in following those requirements. Transparency is achieved by the significant outreach to the public and holding public hearings on any maps or plans for redistricting submitted by the commission members. Additionally, we have meetings scheduled after tonight in Freeport on October 13th, in Glen Cove on October 18th, in Oyster Bay on October 20th, and that's something that we're going to have to discuss between ourselves, between the two delegations at some point tonight. Elmont on 26th of October, and the last hearing at a date and time location that's yet to be determined because one of the recommendations that was made was not available. The room was not available. The facilities were not available. In an effort to achieve transparency, all meetings and hearings will be in public and streamed live over the internet. Furthermore, there is a ACL signing and language line representative here in case there are any non-English speaking people to participate, so that they can participate in these proceedings. The legislative clerk will preserve all the records. Our legislative clerk is sitting here right in front of me, Michael Pulitzer. Further, the record will be kept open for a period of time after the completion of public hearings, and it will include the submissions, including any emails received prior to the date of the record of the commission, and any correspondence, email, or information received after that date will still be forwarded to the full legislature for its consideration. In preparation for this hearing, a notice of this meeting and others were sent to the following: counsel to the minority commissioners, members of the majority commission delegation, the county executive office, Nassau County League of Women Voters, the city of Glen Cove, the city of Long Beach, the town of Hempstead, the town of North Hempstead, the town of Oyster Bay. 22 villages in the town of Hempstead, 30 villages in the town of North Hempstead, 16 villages in the town of Oyster Bay, 55 libraries, 57 school districts, 67 civic associations, 50 chambers of commerce, and 150 news and media outlets that serve Nassau County. In addition, there are a series of people who have asked to be put on the mailing list. I don't have that exact number, but they likewise will receive notice. The notice also goes to all members of the county legislature, as well as the members sitting up here and their staff. Please note that that's the end of my statement. Do you have a statement, Mr. Cashow?
I do. Thank you, Chairman Maroney. And thank you all, and to the city of Long Beach, who knows better than most what it means to go through a terrible superstorm and hurricane. We appreciate your participating in the redistricting process this evening. As you all well know, this is a critical process insofar as it's going to define who your elected officials are for the next 10 years in terms of the county. This, as the chairman pointed out, is our fourth meeting. However, I unfortunately cannot agree with what the chairman said with respect to the fairness and transparency that's manifest or has not manifested itself during the course of this process. In fact, I'm sitting here before you today as the chairman of the Democratic delegate to this commission, And we believe that we continue to have, grave concerns with the lack of transparency of this commission and the lack of fairness in this process. For example, we have on repeated occasions attempted to introduce resolutions to this body that would suffice to provide website transparency by way of resolution. The updates to the website over the last week that were promised, that were supposed to excuse the need for that resolution, are grossly insufficient. We have asked for substantial information to be posted publicly, and it hasn't been. For example, we've asked that resolutions submitted by the Democratic delegation and voted on by this committee be posted for public consumption. That information does not appear on the county's website. We have asked that public notice submitted by the Democratic delegation be posted on the county's website. That information still has not been posted. We've also asked that agendas submitted by the Democratic delegation be posted. That information hasn't been posted either. Minutes and transcripts from all previous hearings, we're still not currently up to date on that. We've asked that items submitted into the record at the 3 preceding hearings be submitted to the website so that you all can view them and we can have meaningful public participation. That information has not been posted. We've also asked that correspondence between the Democratic delegation and Chairman Maroney and my other colleagues on this committee be posted. That information has not been posted for your consumption. We've also asked that the current map, data, and shape files be provided to the public. That is incredibly important information to this process, and that too has not been posted. Finally, we've asked that relevant legal resources and reference materials be posted so that the public can have an informed comments and questions with respect to what laws apply to this board in this process, and that has not been posted. All of this information, as I mentioned, is essential to meaningful public participation, and there is no reason why this information has not been posted to the county's website. So, that being the case, we have released a public shared drive last week, which was mentioned during our last meeting at the town of Hempstead, which contains in one central location any information that we are able to get for members of the public, including information on the current maps, information about our meetings, background on the redistricting process, each of the resolutions that have been presented to this body and voted on by this body, written submissions from the public, and more. We urge you to take a look at that information so that you can see what this process is all about and that you can attend future meetings and ask questions about that important information. You can access that shared drive by scanning the QR code on the card that will be handed out during today's meeting, or by visiting the website, and I'll repeat this twice so that everybody has the opportunity to take it down. It's https://bit.ly, bit.ly/Dem Redistricting 22. That is DEM RESDISTRICTING 2022. Once again, https://bit.ly/DEM RESDISTRICTING 2022.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Pernick. I'd like to,
Don't go anywhere.
first and foremost, echo the comments made by my colleague, Jared, Commissioner Cashel. I share the significant concerns with transparency and fairness that were just addressed. And I'd like to add 2 additional points. First, earlier today, I believe my fellow Democratic-appointed commissioners received an email with 8 written comments that had been submitted to this body. Some of these comments were a month old, and we hadn't seen them. One of them was 28 days old. Several of them were 14 days old. And this was the first opportunity we had to view these comments. I was surprised and concerned that these hadn't been provided to us. It seems unfair and just deeply biased if the Republican appointees have access to submissions from the public, but the Democratic appointees don't get access to those submissions, in some cases for weeks. And these were important submissions. Submissions from highly respected organizations that have done work like this across the state, across the country. Submissions from the League of Women Voters, from Common Cause, from Make the Road New York, serious organizations, and submissions from members of the public with equally important insights, perspectives, and advice for us to take into account. So I was surprised and concerned that these comments had not been provided, in some cases for as long as 28 days after they had been provided to this commission. It was especially concerning because we had asked at the outset of this process for an email address, a mechanism for members of the public to submit comments that could automatically be provided to everybody, or an email address that everybody would have access to. That proposal was rejected, and now it's clear why, because we don't have access to these important submissions. We shouldn't have a structure where only one side could hear from the public and the other side has a delay, sometimes a substantial delay, before getting access to these comments. So again, I would once again ask that an email address be set up specifically for this commission that everyone has access to. There are different ways we could do it. We can have the email automatically forward any submission to every commissioner. We can have both a staff of both delegations have access to these submissions, but it shouldn't be the case that we should have to wait weeks on end to hear from the public after the public provides very important feedback to this process. So that's the first point that I think needs to be said very clearly today. Second, I'd like to take a few minutes to revisit a submission that I made into the record at our previous meeting, a submission that contained a preliminary analysis of the current county legislative maps that was performed by a political science professor, Dr. Daniel Magleby, who is a political scientist at Binghamton University and is a leader in the field of redistricting. His work has been relied on by courts across the country, and he has published extensively on redistricting. And Dr. Magleby did an analysis of our current county legislative map, and his conclusion was clear, simple, and extremely important. The current map and any new map that might be adopted by the county that might be similar to the current map would be an illegal partisan gerrymander. The results of his analysis leave no room for doubt. Now, to provide some context, last year the state amended the municipal home rule law to provide new requirements for redistricting. And one of those new requirements is extremely important for us. It says districts, and I quote, "Districts shall not be drawn to discourage competition or to favor or disfavor incumbents or other particular candidates or political parties." In a case called Harkenrider v. Hochul, the New York Court of Appeals recently adopted a standard for this type of violation of law and concluded that an expert can prove that a map violates the standard using what's called an ensemble analysis. It's a particular methodology for assessing maps. And the way it works is it's pretty simple. The expert generates thousands and thousands of random maps and measures the map that's at issue against these randomly simulated maps that are generated by a computer simulation. And if the map that's at issue is more extreme from a partisan bias perspective than most of those maps, courts will conclude that the map at issue is an illegal partisan gerrymander. So Dr. McElby did just that analysis for the current county legislative map. He generated a simulation of 10,000 random neutral maps, and he concluded that our county legislative map is more extreme, more biased in favor of Republicans than all 10,000 of those maps. So this isn't just a partisan gerrymander, this is an extreme partisan gerrymander. The chances of arriving of a map that's this extreme through a neutral process would be less than 1 in 10,000. So it's a very extreme gerrymander. We know that. It's virtually statistically impossible. Now, he provided a preliminary analysis. We submitted it into the record. It is not posted on the county website. It is posted on our shared drive that we've made public. So I would encourage folks to take a look. We also have some copies of it. If you speak to Gabby, who's in the back, Gabby can provide you with a copy of that preliminary analysis. It places this commission and the legislature on clear notice that the current map is illegal, and we need to start from scratch. We cannot use the current county legislative map. We need to start from scratch and draw a map that's legal from the ground up. I know that the Democratic appointees are taking this very seriously. I know that we would only ever vote for a map that clearly complies with the municipal home rule law and every other statute. I haven't heard any response from the Republican appointees up to this point, but I hope that they are taking this extremely seriously as well. But I would like to make a commitment to all of my colleagues, including my Republican appointed colleagues. If there's a draft map that anybody in this commission is considering, a draft map that we're working on and considering presenting at some point, it's important to understand whether that map complies with these new statutes. And I would offer, if anybody has a map that you are working with, we can do that analysis for you. We could provide you with the same neutral, nonpartisan analysis of whether the map complies with the statute. And that's a standing offer for the rest of this process. So if anybody has a map, send it along, let us know. We can facilitate getting that map reviewed through the ensemble analysis so we can be confident that any map that's presented to the public, that any map that's voted on is legal and complies with the law. There should be no excuse to have not done this analysis now that we have these new important provisions in the municipal home rule law. So that's a standing offer. We're on notice that the current map is illegal, that similar maps would be illegal, and there's an opportunity that's available to every member of this commission to ensure that our maps moving forward comply with the law. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to go back and forth point by point, and I do not intend to engage in partisan mudslinging or anything of that nature, but I do want to note that the Republican delegation has repeatedly said that it intends to comply with the law. I'd like to think that we start with a presumption of integrity until proven otherwise, whereas it appears that my fellow commissioners on the other side of the table seem to be presuming a lack of integrity until proven otherwise. So on behalf of the Republican delegation, I can assure you that it is our intention to be guided by our counsel, by the law, and to see if we can find a map that does comply with the law. Thank you.
I have to get used to these old-fashioned microphones. If I may, simply say, Mr. Pernick creates a very dark image of what's going on. It's not even anywhere near that. It's hyperbole. It's designed to create a record so they can sue afterwards when they get something that they don't like, perhaps. But it's not that way. It really is not that way. We've got nothing to hide. Let me finish without interruption, please. For the record, the map that has just been put out by our executive administrator for our side of the table, for the Republican, for the record, no map, including the one that she's putting out there, has ever been held to be inappropriate. No map since 1984, when this was created, has ever been challenged successfully. And that continues to be the case. I'm just trying to shed some light on the dark image presented by Mr. Pernick. If I could also point out something that I think is dramatically important to the people of this community, especially Long Beach. Remember those words, start from scratch. It took three times to get the full Barrier Island into one district. So they're going to start from scratch. Where is it going to be? You have to look at the details. The information, in fact, if the information was honestly looked at, that they received today in the email, they'll see on it, when I forward it to them, that I had got it this afternoon. That includes some information that needed to be checked to make sure that we weren't violating anybody's personal information that may have been included on those items. Number one. Number two, every single resolution that has been submitted to this board has been dealt with openly and in public. Not ignored, but openly in public. It is significant, if I may, that all the laws are going to be complied with. They have always been complied with. From the day this legislature was approved by federal court judge Arthur Spat. This is not a map that even resembled the map that the courts threw out when the Democrats created it in New York State. It doesn't even resemble anything trashy like that. This is an honest process. I think every one of these people on the Democratic side are good, solid citizens, but they got to stick to the facts. I think everybody over here is a good, solid citizen, and they will, I'm sure, stick to the facts. Now, unless somebody has anything else to say, I'd like to call on Harvey Wiesenberg.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry,
Sure.
and forgive me, Assemblyman. Just to pick up on those few comments. First off, I don't think characterizing what Mr. Pernick or I has said to be an unreasonably dark picture of what's gone on over the last 3 meetings. In fact, and you could look at the transcripts of the proceedings that have been held to date, all of the issues that we discussed, Mr. Pernick and me, were raised by individuals who appeared before this body. There is, by virtue of those comments, a fundamental lack of trust in this process. And I want, and the Commission, I think all of us, and I thank you, Mr. Chairman, for pointing out that we're all good citizens and we're going to do what is appropriate. I think it's incumbent upon us in this body to reestablish that trust, and I think the resolutions and the information that we're hoping to be made public will reestablish that trust, because there are plenty of people who have appeared over the last 3 meetings that have commented that this process has been less than transparent, that they have a fundamental distrust in the process, and that they think this is a charade. And I don't want to be part of that. So I will do everything in this body, I hope will do everything possible to reestablish the trust and ensure that we comply with the law. Now, with respect to what Mr. Pernick said vis-a-vis the study done by our expert, Mr. Maggleby's report makes it even more important that we have a process that actually takes public feedback into account. Unfortunately, the current process is designed to make it impossible for members of the public to provide this Commission with feedback on a proposed map. Under the current schedule proposed by Chairman Maroney, this Commission would release proposed maps on November 10th and would vote on those proposed maps the same day, with just 1 hour in between the meetings where they are released and the meeting when they receive a vote. This proposed schedule, I submit, is absurd. The public has no opportunity to review and comment on those draft maps, and our Commission has no opportunity to try to negotiate a map that can earn 6 votes that will be submitted to the county legislature. The schedule makes our entire process a sham. The Democratic-appointed commissioners have tried over and over again to address this issue, but we have been blocked by the Republican appointees at every turn. On August 31st, we introduced a resolution providing for 7 hearings after draft maps were released. That was rejected on a partisan basis, unfortunately. On September 21st, we introduced a resolution providing for 3 weeks for public comment on actual maps, with at least 1 hearing. That, too, was rejected on a partisan basis. I will now make a final plea to my colleagues. Please, please don't make this process a sham. As a last resort, I will ask this commission to commit to give the public at least 2 weeks to review draft maps before they are approved, rather than just an hour. This means that if we plan to hold a vote on maps on November 10th, drafts of those proposed maps must be released on November 3rd. This motion, even if granted, will not solve the problem. 2 weeks is not enough time to review draft maps, and it is not enough time for us as a commission to try to negotiate a compromise plan that can earn 6 votes. This approach doesn't even provide for public hearings. But every other effort to fix this issue has been rejected, and I'm pleading with my colleagues to give the public at least 14 days, a reasonable amount of time, to weigh in. With that, I will now make a motion to release any draft maps that will be considered by this commission at least 2 weeks prior to their commission, and I ask for a roll call vote on my motion.
I'll second the motion.
First, Mr. Chairman, I just note that I think we have usually done a roll call just to establish attendance, but perhaps the record can reflect that all are present of the commission, with the exception of Mr. Mejias. With that note on the record, my comment on the motion is the same as it was the last time, which is I think it's simply premature to establish an arbitrary schedule of what we are going to do at the point in time that we are ready to suggest a map to the legislature, other than to add on to that the legislature itself, the decision-making body, is certainly in a position to hear comments from the public on whatever advice we give them. So therefore, I am not prepared to vote yes for the resolution. Thank you.
On the motion, I don't remember the woman's name, but she was here twice. Not at this. I don't see her here tonight. Ask for additional time on those dates. Those dates are not etched in stone. They're under discussion. In fact, I've had discussions with Mr. Mejias. I'm sorry he's not here to verify that. But we have said that's a placeholder, if nothing else. So this is an unnecessary, again, effort to create an obstacle, to create a vision that it just does not keep in effect. Now, if I may, Mr. Clerk, will you call the roll on the motion?
Yes, sir. I will call the roll. Commissioner Peter B.
No.
Commissioner John L. Reinhardt.
No.
Commissioner Maureen Fitzgerald.
No.
Commissioner Christopher Devane.
No.
Commissioner Eric Millett. No. Commissioner David Mejias. Absent. Commissioner Jared Cashow.
Aye.
Commissioner Andrina Wyatt.
I would like to first state for the record that I am deeply concerned about the lack of opportunity for members of the public to actually comment on a proposed map. I agree with the motion made by Commissioner Kershaw. However, it's not enough. It's not enough. We have seen throughout this entire process that members of the communities of color, they're coming out, and they're coming out in large numbers, and they're making comments because they care, they're concerned. But we also see that members of the community, particularly members of the Black and Latino community, they're showing up and they're expressing that they are angry and that they are disillusioned by this process. And I also understand it was brought to my attention that there are many members of the community who said that they will not testify until they actually see a map that they can comment on. Otherwise, what is the point? So with that said, 2 weeks is not enough time. However, it is better than nothing, so I will support the motion, yes.
Thank you. Commissioner James Megan Jr.,
Yes.
Commissioner Michael Pernick.
I'd like to expand for a moment on a comment made by my colleague, Commissioner B. He pointed out that he did not want to vote for this motion because it would set an arbitrary schedule. Well, we have an arbitrary schedule right now. We have a schedule that provides members of the public a grand total of 1 hour to review a proposal and comment on it. We have a schedule that gives us 1 hour as a commission to try to negotiate a compromise in good faith that we could recommend to the legislature. How are we going to be able to come to an agreement with 1 hour? That shouldn't be our starting point. That shouldn't be our placeholder. If we're going to have a placeholder, let's at least use a placeholder that gives the public an opportunity to weigh in, that gives us an opportunity to try and collaborate and work together in good faith to reach a compromise. 2 weeks, I agree with Commissioner Wyatt. It's not enough time, but it's better than nothing. So let's use that as our placeholder, and if we want to adjust as we get closer, that's fine. But let's at least start from a point of collaboration, working together to get to 6 votes, and giving the public an opportunity to comment on a map before this commission, because it's our job to receive public comments and recommend something to the legislature that incorporates and reflects those comments. I'll vote aye on the motion.
I don't vote. That's right. The motion fails. Just for the sake of the record, the Charter Revision Commission put in a clause that said no action can be taken on, and I'll use the word motions because that's what's in front of us as way of example, without 6 votes. So without, even 5-4 is a losing vote. With that said, and with the acknowledgement that everybody's here except for Mr. Mejias, who's been excused, I want to call our 76th person to testify in front of these. For anybody who may think that we're not taking serious who comes and who goes and how many come, the 66th person is our good friend Harvey Weisenberg. Harvey, would you come up?
Thank you for coming to our city. I come here because people in the community asked me to speak for them. When politics takes over government, there is no government. I have a few years of experience. I'm an elected official for 38 years, 13 in Long Beach as a councilman, 25 in Albany as a deputy speaker of the state assembly. And isn't it interesting that Long Beach doesn't have an elected official this year? The purpose that all of us serve, and I say this very sincerely, and I had a lot of success in Albany because politics was not the issue with me. You know, you're here to serve the needs of your people, and you put your people first. And you know, we can see what's happening in our country. We are losing the success of what this country stands for. And unfortunately, people all over the world are laughing at what's in our country and government today. But all of you, and you're here, you have a conscience, and I'm here because the people asked me to speak. I'm the voice of those who have no voice. And the answer really is that we are all here to try to make this a better world, without the anger and the violence, with love and caring. And I want to talk to you about Long Beach, a small city. We had 32,000 people approximately and 100,000 in the summer. But I tell you, we're a small city of love, and the world is changing. And good people are hesitant to become involved in government. And I want to share with you my own life experience that the rewards of being an elected official, a public servant, isn't the power and money. It's the thank yous you get for helping people. And today we're all here and we're listening and we're saying to you, and I'm saying to you, my purpose, because people from our community asked me to speak because they were afraid that nobody's going to care. And I'm saying, you're all here, and I really want you to think about my purpose here is to make you aware that we have a small community. It's a small city, but it's not a small city anymore, as you can see. But you have the needs of people, and people are desperate. These are desperate times, and this is a time for everybody to really think about what's really important. And what's important is loving and caring and trying to make good the needs of so many people. We have devastation in our world today. We don't need the anger and the violence that is taking place, but when we learn and we can show people, and I thank you for being here because you all have a role. Everybody's voice has to be heard, but really take a step back and prioritize what's important. I'm here. We got a minority community that is growing, and we have a wonderful city. I mean, I say it's a city of love. People here work together, care about each other, and when politics takes over government, as I said, we don't have government. But tonight I'm here to say thank you for being here, and I really, really want you to really understand that everybody's in trouble. It's a tough society we live in. It's a tough world. But you know what? Take a step back and talk to each other and say, I understand what politics is, and I know most people from both parties and all parties, and I know who they are. They're good people. Every one of them is a good person. But you just have to now really take a step back and say, and here's what I'm here to say, I want the people of my community to be able to get the resources that are necessary to have a quality of life, and that we're not going to look politically, because I saw what happened. I saw people who didn't live when they didn't change their district. They didn't live in their own district. I mean, things like that should not happen or could not happen. Not if people get together and really think that, how do we do what's best to meet the needs of our people? So tonight, again, I'm saying thank you for what you do, and I really hope that you can really sit and think about getting together and doing what's the best thing you can do together, work it as a team. Be a team, because that's the only way you have success. You see what's going at every level of government. I mean, it's sad. It's terrible. People in Albany are calling me. Tom DiNapoli asked me to run for council, run for Congress, run for Senate, run for something. We need people like you up here. And I said, Tom, and Tom is one person that anybody on any side knows is a gentleman, and he's the best that he is in his position, and thank God he's there. But I'm saying to you, it's upsetting to hear what's happening here. And I just know that I want to have confidence in who you are and what you do. And I'm saying to you, do the best you can do to meet the needs of the people of the city of Long Beach. Thank you.
Thank you, Robbie. We do have a 3-minute rule. I know that we went by it with the Assemblyman, but old friends sometimes let other old friends talk a little longer than they need to. But thank you. Thank you, sir. Next is Sarah Nicholas, League of Women Voters from Long Beach.
My name is Sarah Nicholas. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Long Beach. Thank you for this opportunity to comment tonight. The League of Women Voters encourages informed and active participation in government. We work to increase understanding of major public policy issues and influence public policy through education and advocacy. The League is an organization fully committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion in principle and in practice. The League is nonpartisan and does not support or oppose any candidate or political party at any level of government. The League is here tonight, as we have done at earlier meetings, to advocate for a fair, inclusive, and transparent redistricting process. Part of that is easy access to all information, documentation, notifications, disclosures of all expenses of taxpayer monies, current maps, and all the working sessions, all the agendas, all the motions. This should be in one place, easily accessible to the public. Streaming meetings is not the same as virtual meetings. Part of the COVID experience for many people was conducting business through Zoom meetings. So many people are aware of that process. This could provide an opportunity for community members that cannot attend in person, whether it's due to a physical disability, the location, or scheduling, to give their oral comments to this commission. There is ample time for this commission to release the draft maps and provide time for public comment. Then they can consider any revisions to address the public's concerns before it is submitted to the legislature. It's been mentioned before, but this bears repeating. The New York State's recently amended Municipal Home Rule Law and the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act of New York says districts shall be drawn to discourage competition or for the purposes of favoring or disfavoring incumbents or any other political candidate or party. We know that redistricting is a highly partisan process. And perhaps each side is looking to gain as much advantage as it can. And we certainly recognize the responsibility of this commission is not an easy one. But nonetheless, you must put partisan politics aside and work together for all the residents of Nassau County. Thank you. And just as an aside, I'd just like to ask, are all the October meetings posted on the website?
We only agreed to them a day last week. So they'll be up and they'll be in timely
So
notice.
they're currently not on the website. You've agreed to these meetings and locations, but you haven't posted them yet?
We post them 7 days ahead of time in accordance with the open meetings law. They will likewise be posted. We didn't have them all together. There's been changes and other things, so you'll have fair opportunity to see. But I do want to address one thing that you said.
Okay.
Because it's you said a very important thing. And you referenced, as Mr. Pernick likes to reference, that portion of the Municipal Home Rule Law, which you cited.
Right.
That is sixth priority as far as the law is concerned. Let me tell you why. You got to fill in the blanks. He's correct. You were correct. You did it perfectly. What the statute says is that reapportionment of members of its local legislative body shall be subject to federal and state constitutional requirements and shall comply with the following standards, which shall have priority in the order herein set forth. Okay, number one, only single-member districts, such districts shall have nearly equal population. It's 5%. It was 10%. They knocked it down to 5%. The first most important thing is the right size. Population and geography drive the making of maps. The second one, districts shall be drawn with the intent or shall not be with the intent or result of denying or abridging equal opportunity of racial or language minority groups to participate in the political process or to diminish their ability to elect representatives in their own choice. That means that we have to obey the Voting Rights Act. We have to make sure that majority districts, whether they can be fulfilled, will be fulfilled. The next one is districts shall be contiguous in territory. That means they can touch each other. Okay? The next is the district shall be compact in form as practicable. Practicable, very important word. It's an interesting word, very interesting word. Next is the section that you quoted. And last is that a district shall be formed so as to promote an orderly and efficient administration of elections. In other words, they want to make sure election districts are together. We want to make sure that the people have enough places to go and vote. The issue that comes to mind, to me anyway, is geography and population. when this district was, when this legislature was first prepared, there was 67,000 roughly people per district. There are now 73,000 people per district, but they're not equally spread out. They're in different places. They're in different clusters. So you take the population, which is very important, and you take the geography, which is also important, and you have to mix them together. And what happens sometimes are things that look ugly that other people may accuse of being gerrymandering, and they're not, because you have to look at the context of things. You have to look at those things. You have to look at all of the creations that are there, including making sure that the minority population is taken care of. Okay.
Well, thank you for those clarifications, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
And I hope that this commission reviews that and adheres to all those requirements of the municipal law. And I think the emphasis was, when you've done that and you come up with what you think is the best job you can do and adhere to those, that you release it to the public and let the public say, but wait a minute, this is what I think, this is my community. And then you take that input and then you work as a commission to come up with something that could address those issues and then present it to the legislature. Thank you for your time.
I would like to first thank you for coming in. And I want to thank everybody from the League for all of their engagement in this process, providing us with testimony at each of our hearings. Unfortunately, I just saw some of the written testimony that had been submitted weeks ago from the League just earlier today, but I do appreciate all of the engagement in the process. I also appreciate our chair identifying some of the other provisions of the municipal home rule law that are applicable. I need to make some corrections here. So the municipal home rule law does provide a series of obligations that we as a commission must follow. Of course, we need to comply with the Voting Rights Act. We also have to comply with the State Voting Rights Act. That's a new law. It says districts shall be in as compact form as practicable. Of course. But here's the way that these sorts of statutes with tiered priorities are interpreted and applied. It's very simple. If there's a map that's presented that seems to violate one of those priorities, and there's an alternate map or an alternate set of maps that does a better job of adhering to all of the preliminary priorities, then the map that's at issue is likely going to be struck down. So that's the situation that we have here. And the Magleby report, which I hope that you read it, it makes that very clear. What Dr. Magleby did is he used a computer simulation that went through each of those priorities that came first before the requirement of not drawing a partisan gerrymander. And he coded the simulation to ensure that all of the randomly generated maps complied and did a better job of complying than the current map. So let's go through them. Equal population. All 10,000 maps that he randomly generated have better population equality than the current map. I think the current map, the deviation, if you look at 2010, I believe it's a little over 4%, I think, or 3%. All of the randomly simulated maps have less population deviation. Second, the language, intent or result of denying or bridging equal opportunity of racial or language minority groups. Now, there are separate statutes that cover this, but for the purpose of the simulations that Dr. Magleby ran, he ensured that there were at least as many majority-minority districts as the current map. Next, districts have to be contiguous. All the districts in the simulated maps are contiguous. Next, districts have to be in compact in form as practicable. Current map is like one of the least compact maps in the country. I do this work across the country, some of these districts are just horribly, horribly uncompact. Dr. Magleby ensured that the simulated maps were all more compact on every measure, whether you look at the map as a whole or individual districts, more compact than the current map. So then what he did, once you hold all of those other factors constant, all of the factors from the municipal home rule law, then you run your simulations, and you see the partisan outcome. 10,000 maps that are more compact than the current map, 10,000 maps that do a better job of ensuring for minority representation than the current map. And what did he find? This map that we have right now is more biased in favor of voters who like Republicans and against voters who vote for Democrats than any of the 10,000 randomly simulated maps. It's clear-cut. These are facts. Our chairman accused me of painting a dark picture. I'm not painting a dark picture. I'm laying out the facts as provided to us by one of the leading experts in our country doing precisely this work, who concluded that this is an extreme partisan gerrymander that we have today. And no evidence has been submitted by anyone saying otherwise. If there's other evidence, I'd love to see it. But I'm not optimistic that it exists because this is really clear. This is undeniable that we have an extreme partisan gerrymander. And it is clear, even though there are some other criteria that come first in the municipal home rule law, you can hold those constant, you could satisfy them, and still have 10,000 maps, and all 10,000 are less extreme than the one we have today. It's not legal, and it's not a good starting point. The chairman also noted earlier, well, and I'm paraphrasing, correct me, I don't mean to misparaphrase, so please correct me if I'm not quoting you correctly, Mr. Chairman, but my understanding is he pointed out that the fact that the current map hadn't been struck down is evidence that it's a good map. Well, this provision of the municipal home rule law, we just got it last year. It wasn't around when this map was passed. So this is a new law that we need to comply with. We also have a new State Voting Rights Act that we need to comply with. There are new provisions. So when we look at this current map and assess it under these new provisions of law, we know it's not going to hold up. We know it's not an okay starting point. We know it's an illegal starting point. So again, I want to thank the League for being involved in this process. I want to thank the League for pointing out the law, and I hope that that clarification is helpful.
If I may call on Eileen Lilly.
Hello, my name is Eileen Lilly with the League of Women Voters. It's a pleasure to speak to you this evening and to work together for the best interests of Nassau County residents. The League is nonpartisan, a grassroots nonprofit dedicated to empowering everyone to fully participate in our democracy. While the League takes positions on a variety of public issues, it never supports or opposes any political party or candidate. The League is here to advocate on behalf of a fair and transparent process. I'd like to go off my script for a minute and say that this map that came through 10 years ago, I attended the redistricting meetings 10 years ago, and I remember what was being proposed. I remember the different iterations where at one iteration drew a line around a legislator's residence and put that legislator in another district. I remember they drew a line around Long Beach and hooked us over to Merrick. Those iterations didn't pass, but those were the ideas that were being brought forward. And so, for me, trust is an important factor, and that's why I'm here tonight. And I take great heart in hearing that there are programs, that there are computer programs that can assist us in drawing more fair lines. And that, to me, what was spoken about last week, Dr. Magleby's research into the redistricting lines, it was very enlightening. Our awareness has been raised, and I thank you for that, Mr. Pernick. Another thing that I find very difficult is, it's wonderful we have a translator here for the deaf. Our community has a large Spanish population. There should be interpreters here in their language while it's after it's being said. They're entitled to that. They represent us, and they are entitled to that. We are also a community with many disabled, and Zoom would allow them to speak and to be heard. And they are being eliminated at this meeting. There's no venue, there's no way they can address the issue. So I thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much. If there are any people who are non-English speaking, the gentleman in the back of the room, please stand up. If you don't speak English and you have another language, he has in front of him the software and a tablet that can help you through and understand what's going on here. Thank you very much, Lily. Now, Michael Turi.
Thank you very much. My name is Michael Turi. I am a resident of Long Beach. I live at 23 Indiana Avenue, so esteemed commissioners, thank you very much. Commissioner Fitzgerald, my condolences. So, one of the first things that got me involved in local politics was the redistricting effort that took place 10 years ago. And it's amazing how little has changed watching this here in front of me. So as it stands right now, the no action, if nothing were to happen from this body moving forward, an hour is the amount of time to look at the maps that could be produced. I mean, we need at least 2 or 3 weeks to look at something. I don't know how you could expect a regular person in the public to digest and understand what this commission has been tasked to create if they don't have the proper amount of time to judge it. So I urge everyone here to adopt at least a 2-week time period to view it. I don't see how that's arbitrary. I think an hour is arbitrary, and I think it limits the public to be able to engage this commission in the way in which the charter had envisioned. That's number one that I would say. I am from the Five Towns. That is where I was born. It's where I went to high school. It's where my parents live now. And something that I saw happen in the 2013 redistricting effort was the Five Towns was ripped apart into 4 different legislative districts. You've got the 3rd district, which has Inwood and North Lawrence. You have the 4th district, which hugs Long Beach and comes up from the south. You have the 7th, which goes from the very corner of Lawrence all the way to the high corner, like a snake, all the way over to Rockville Center. The people in Rockville Center are an entirely different community than the folks in the Five Towns. In fact, the folks in the Five Towns, I'm sure you know, are quite a cohesive community. Their religion and other ethnic things bring them together. It tore their influence apart by not giving them a single legislator that they can go to discuss their issues. Now that someone lives here, they got to go to this one. You live a mile north, you have to go to another one. You live a mile south, you have to go to another legislator. How is someone supposed to be able to receive proper representation when they have a different person who has to become a stakeholder of their issues, and those people have issues that matter for who knows where? And so I hope that this commission takes seriously the idea to keep like communities together, and most importantly, according to the Voting Rights Act, for the people who have had their power most torn apart. That's, in my opinion, what the most important of all the overarching things are. So I hope this commission takes that into effect. Let me ask you one more question, Mr. Maroney. Sure. You just read that list of what the...
Could finish.
Thank you. You just read that list of what the criteria for the new municipal law is.
Right.
Did the law specify specifically? Because I was just looking at it. It didn't have an ordinality to it. It didn't say that one was more important than 2. It said, here are the 6 things that you should, or 7, I think, that you should use to judge this. Am I wrong?
Yes. It says in the priority, which they're listed below. So top priority to the lowest priority.
Does it say anywhere that that's not just a list?
Yes.
Well, here's number 1, here's number 2, here's number 3. There's a list.
It says reapportionment members of its local legislative body shall be subject to the federal and state constitutional requirements and shall comply with the following standards: which shall have priority in the order herein set forth to the extent applicable. And then they list them A through F.
Here. Okay.
So that's the highest to the lowest.
I guess
by
that
priority.
is in the
Top
order
priority
here
to the lowest
extent
priority.
practical. Okay. Maybe I misunderstood it before. Well, I would hope that
Understood. So writing laws is difficult. Understanding them is even more difficult.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Stephanie Chase from Rockville Center. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Stephanie Chase. I'm from Rockville Center, the Lakeview section. I'm very concerned about these maps. I don't even know what this is that you just put up here, but I'm concerned because I saw a map before, and Lakeview is a small hamlet, and we don't have really, we're half of it is part of Rockville Center, the other half is part of West Hempstead. We can't get commuter parking permits because we're not really Rockville Center, and we can't get parking permits for West Hempstead because we're not really. So we're in the middle of nowhere, and I'm afraid of being further disenfranchised for what's going on. This is a whole different climate. I've attended I've attended 3 other meetings. This is the 3rd one. And it's a different, I don't know, you guys are talking different over here than you did in the last meetings. And you guys have stayed the same, I'm sorry, but
So are the members from the audience.
Excuse me?
So are the members from the audience.
Well, yeah, but they had valid points, and it was very insightful. I learned a lot. This side seems to be more for the people, and if we don't agree on these maps that are, when you finally decide, what happens? What happens? Do we have a say? What happens if you cut right through Lakeview and totally wipe us out? What happens then? Where do we go to?
I said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's okay. But where do we go? What happens? And this is gerrymandering. It really is. I've never seen anything like this. This is crazy. This is like what's happening in Georgia.
If I may, this body, as I think has been said a couple of times, gives its advice, non-binding advice, which we hope the county legislature will take seriously, but it is only advice. So the product of this body goes to the Nassau County legislature. They can say, we like your advice, we're adopting it. We don't like your advice, we're not adopting it. They can ignore us. They can create their own map. It's the county legislature that adopts the new maps. All they are doing is asking for our advice as to what we think would be the right map.
Well, then your advice should be, I've attended the 3 meetings, well, there's 4, but I've attended 3 of them, and everyone is against it. So everyone, every person that got up, there was, in Mineola, there was over 150 people. They got up and they were all against it.
Against
I
what?
was at the one against redrawing of the lines and messing everything up.
No, I
They
think
want transparency. I don't even understand. I don't understand this. You have to speak. I'm a layperson. I don't understand.
Well, right
And-
now, Nassau County is divided into 19 separate districts.
I know that.
Right, and every 10 years there's a census that tells us 5,000 people moved out of this district, 6,000 people moved into that district, and in order to get approximately the same number of people in each district, the lines have to be redrawn. So one district, if they lost 5,000 people, may have to pick up 5,000 people from some neighboring district. And you have to move the numbers around and the lines around in order to accommodate getting to approximately the same number of people using the priority that was read into the record before. So the goal, which we must do, eventually, or the county legislature must do eventually, is to redraw the lines so that you have 19 districts of approximately equal population and with all of those various criteria that were read into the record. So the county legislature has asked this body to see if it can draft a map, one or more maps, that comply with the law and recommend those maps to the legislature. So far, there is no new map. It doesn't exist. There's no new map that has been put forth by either the Democratic delegation or the Republican delegation. The first step is to hear from the public, what would you like to see in a new map? Which district do you think should be added to, subtracted from? Where should the line be moved to? If a district is short on population, where should the new population come from? These are those hearings at which you tell us what your advice is to us, after which we form an opinion and give our advice to the county legislature. Does that help?
Yes, that helps. So that means you're going to be working with them because they have our hearts in, they're more in line with what we're thinking, and everyone else and all the other meetings I've gone to. So you will listen and work with them.
We will listen to everyone.
And, I mean, really work. And I would also say that we need to see these maps before. 2 weeks is nothing to get a map. I just found out about this meeting, and I came tearing over here. We need more time.
Thank you very much for your comments. We appreciate them.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Miss Chase. Ms. Chase, I want to say thank you again for your comments, for coming out tonight. I'm sorry you're just finding out about the meeting. But I just want to be clear, as much as the comment was made that all we do is give advice, but there's also decisions that this board can make, this Board of Commissioners can make. For example, more transparency. For example, more hearings so that more people from the public can know about this. You just found out about this tonight. Imagine how many people don't know or didn't have the opportunity, right? For example, more time for the public to view a map that once is proposed. So there are decisions that this panel of this Board of Commissioners can make. It's not just to give advice. We do have the power to make certain decisions if we can just all agree on making those decisions. Thank you.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Thank you. Daniel Lampeter.
Good evening, Commissioners. First, I'd like to start by pushing back a little bit what was said earlier by Chairman Maroney. While I understand that Long Beach and the Barrier Island and Legislative District 4 was put together, I understand that, but there are other districts as well that he didn't tell you about. Like we heard earlier from Mr. Turi, the 5 towns was divided into 4 different districts. The village of Rockville Center, a rather large village, I might add, 3 different legislative districts. Oceanside, 3 different legislative districts. And these are all communities who've had their representation diluted by the previous hard gerrymander. And from what I've seen tonight, I feel like I'm seeing 2013 all over again. The partisan nature of this process that I've seen since the inception of this commission to the legislation forthcoming gives credence to that. And I think, honestly speaking for myself, that it's very difficult to overcome the partisan nature of the process as it stands. So what I propose, obviously, you do have to draw the line somewhere. So I think drawing the line somewhere means taking the politics out of it altogether. I think the commission should appoint a special master of sorts, similar to the ones that the court had appointed for the state senate and Congress, because I feel that taking it out of the hands of the political process is the only way to really ensure that we have faith in what's going on with the county legislature. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Edmondson, Oceanside Civic Association.
I'll say hello to Peter B.
I'm believe he's the same Peter B. It's an attorney. I worked with him with Bill Kahn, the former DA of Nassau County. Long time no see. Yeah, I heard about this from Kevin McKenna. Yes, Kevin McKenna, Democrats hate him, Republicans hate him, but he gets the news out there. I mean, he does get the news out there. And it's amazing because my girlfriend's Republican, I'm a Democrat, and it's amazing that not one county legislator on the Republican side, because I belong to everybody, like George Marigo says, who don't you know? I know everybody. I mean, not Republican, sent out on Facebook about this meeting. I got Debbie Monet sent about the meeting, little part in Newsday about the meeting. I called the League of Women Voters. At least they're here. They don't answer the phone too well. Yep. I mean, people come into the Board of Elections. I work the polls. My girlfriend's the chairwoman. She's Republican. I'm a Democrat. Work the same table. We don't kill each other. And people come in during a Democratic primary and they think they can vote. No, you can't vote in the Democratic Party in the state of New York. But it's amazing how us Democrats can't get people out to vote and the Republicans can't get people to work the polls. I mean, you're supposed to do everything bipartisan. But I mean, look at the county, look at the maps for Congress and the Senate. We're going to have 2 Senate districts in Oceanside. I mean, I remember when it was split when Harvey Wiesenberg, we had 2 assembly districts. And then we had 1. I like the way, what happened to the Board of Supervisors? Nobody wanted them. They wanted 19 legislators. Thank God we don't do like upstate and give them cars. Thank you.
James Hodge. I know, and I pronounced it right too this time.
You didn't get my tea. I just wanted to hand you that. Thank you. Commissioner, can that be handed out? That was the movie I was talking about, so I just wanted to bring it to you 13th. I just wanted to say, again, as I said before, it seems like we're talking about good people. I'm tired of hearing about good people. Good people decided that women couldn't vote. Good people also said that slavery was right. I'm tired of hearing about good people. I want to know what is and what do you think is right. So I have, 1 second, just, I'm sorry, can I just get 1 minute? Sorry about that, Commissioner. I just wanted to be able to recite, again, for the record, just words from Dr. Martin Luther King. And I just wanted to say again, however difficult the moment, however frustrating the hour, it will not be long, because truth crushed the earth will rise again. How long? Not long. No lie can live forever. How long? Not long. Because you shall reap what you sow. How long? Not long. Truth forever, the scaffold. Wrong forever on the throne. Yet that scaffold sways the future, and behind them unknown standeth God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own. How long? Not long. Because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. How long? Not long. because mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He's trampling out the vintage of the grapes of the wrath of the store are stored. He's loosed the faithful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. He has sounded forth the trumpet that shall never call retreat. He is sifting out the hearts of men before his judgment seat. Oh, be swift, my soul, to answer him. Be jubilant, my feet. Our God is marching on. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. I say to you, Commissioner, Martin Luther King speeches are still being recited because some of the same things are still going on before Martin Luther King was born. And I say to you, Commissioner, when you say, I believe it's good people on this side and that side, it's not about good people. It's about what we see already. Again, you said that there's nothing wrong with these maps, and there's nothing wrong already. Again, what you have said and has been stated and pointed out time and time again. In my conclusion, I say what you said is right. It is totally and been proven by documented and statistical data that people stated here. And like Mr. Fred Brewington said, he's watching, and he's watching now live. So you will probably have a lawsuit if you go by what you're saying is right, because it is wrong. And God is watching most of all. God bless.
Thank you, James. I appreciate it. Crystal Lake?
Good evening, everyone. First, I would like to say I am a lay person in regards to these matters. However, what fair representation means to me is not being underserved, not being disproportionately burdened, having equal and fair, meaningful involvement via citizen participation, having the ability to have the information disseminated in a timely fashion. I am a reader, make no mistake, but I would like to be given the opportunity to have a better understanding and true knowledge of what is about to occur. Living in a community that is and has been underserved and disproportionately burdened, even though there are state and federal laws on the books that are supposed to protect communities of color, communities that are low, moderate income, many other types of disparities as well. Federal laws, Presidential Executive Order 12898, environmental justice, federal actions to protect the underserved, the disproportionately burdened, all of the federal agencies. So some of this information should fall into one of those under those federal agencies as well. And I can tell you for a fact, having, I won't say fighting, but I would say voicing my opinion, my concerns, and a plethora of supporting documentation that for decades have still not been fully addressed. So when matters such as these are occurring, it is of the utmost importance that each and every one of you understand that our home should be built strong from the foundation up. And just because, I don't know if it's based on population, geography, whatever the case may be, it is of great potential that a community that is already underserved and disproportionately burdened would be swallowed up by the greater majority, and our needs would not be met. So I am truly asking each and every one of you to hear each and every one's concerns. We are all God's children, and we all deserve the right to have equal, fair opportunities. If one chooses not to walk through the doors of opportunity, then that's on them. But I believe everyone has the ability here to have a better Nassau County moving forward. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for your testimony.
Excuse me, Ms. Lake, I have a question for you, if I may. Sure. Thank you. First, thank you so much for coming and testifying. We really do appreciate all of the testimony that we've been receiving, and I am moved, and I appreciate specifically that you said that your community has been underserved and disproportionately burdened.
North Park community, sir.
North Park community.
Yes.
We've heard a lot about certain communities, communities of color in particular, that have been underserved and disproportionately burdened throughout the process. I would love to hear from you, if you're able to share with this commission any of the ways in which your community, North Park, has been disproportionately burdened, underserved. Some examples, if you're comfortable sharing, I'd be very grateful.
Of course.
Thank you.
I can remember, I would say, approximately about the age of 4 or 5. I resided at 56 East Harrison Street within the North Park community. That was my first family home. Within, I would say, approximately several years, that street was closed via urban renewal, slum clearance, Negro removal. Okay. The project number was R23. Change order 72497, C Block 277, street closed, East Harrison Street. And if you try to obtain the records now, I do have copies. I do. It's very difficult to see that street ever existed. That's part of our history. The second gentrification occurred. It was the Wallbound Shopping Mall, East Chester Street, section block and lot number 5996-210, I believe. If you look at that section block and lot online, Nassau County Land Viewer, you will see the unfortunate mom and pop stores that were demolished on Park Avenue with the apartments above. Okay, but there's no record of East Chester Street, all the homes that were demolished. That was the second gentrification, the residential displacement. Okay, you can read the City of Long Beach's technical memorandum, May 2005. Roman numeral 6-3 specifically states that... You want me to be quiet now? No. Okay. It specifically states that Bayfront redevelopment could create secondary gentrification within the North Park area. However, that statement is partially correct, but the numeric value is not. That would be 3. On the ocean side, Superblock, it was 80 Riverside, 59, 115, lots 1 through 10, 40 units via urban renewal. So when we're moving forward, and we're not even speaking of the 2 incinerator sites, you have 2 major utilities there, okay, which I can give you the section, block, and lot, but I won't, okay. The magnitude of what my community, myself and my family endured via exposure to carcinogens, okay. Dioxin, 3 times EPA standard at that time. And I can go, and I do have all the supporting documentation that I did obtain from state, local, and federal entities. Because when I heard of the second gentrification, it truly bothered me, because I knew what it felt like to be displaced, and my family, and the heartbreak. So I'm lucky to be standing here and to tell a small portion of the entire story. But moving forward, this is what happens. Oh, right now, okay, we're waiting on the North Shore Critical Infrastructure, which is supposed to protect the North Park community, as well as the city's critical infrastructure from flooding. 9 years later, this hasn't occurred. And we are the only area within the city of Long Beach that does not have any flood protection measures in place. So I don't want to take up more time, but thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
I really appreciate that background. Thank you for sharing your expertise with this commission. I know Long Beach well. I know the North Park community well. Not everybody on the commission may. So when you refer to the North Park community, you're referring to a primarily black and Latino community. Is that right?
Correct.
And do you feel as if the 19-member county legislature that's been elected under that map has been responsive to the needs of the North Park community?
Honestly, I could say not that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Because we would have flood protection at this point in time. That's my opinion, and I don't want anyone to take it personally, but I think it is a known fact. Okay. Thank you. Okay. At this point in time, being priced out, flooded out, I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. We have to go somewhere, and we're truly in need of this process and any other process to work across the board for all. Thank you.
Crystal, who is your legislator? Okay, I'll make sure she hears that. Mrs. Kathy Williams. Mrs. Kathy Williams?
Good evening. Thank you for coming out with more bad news. In this country, gerrymandering goes way back. Are you familiar with the word gerrymandering? Study your history books, because what you're doing now is what they were doing in the old days, swapping sections and districts around for political purposes. This country has always been involved in gerrymandering. I don't know why you don't know about it. I heard about it when I was in sixth grade. Gerrymandering, and it never left out of my mind, because what it was is to disassimilate people. And as usual, those who have get more, and the ones who don't have get less. I've never seen anything good that came out of gerrymandering, especially for minority groups. The communities lose, they even lose their services. Nassau County has always been jealous of Long Beach. It's true, because the people out here were running their own business, and they didn't like that. They want to be in control of everything. So now they've come up with more. We're dealing with our own gentrification out here in the first place. Our own personal gentrification. Yes, right here in Long Beach. All kind of little ways to get rid of you and do this and do that to you. But the bottom line is, bye. When you're dealing with this type of situation, it's very hard on individuals who are constantly faced with gentrification. If it doesn't come in one form, it'll come in another form. But it's still gentrification. And I say to you, these maps need to go back where they came from and redone, or whatever. It's still a form of regentrification. I don't care how you slice it. You can call it coconut cake or whatever you want to. It's still an undermined way to get rid of the indigent people.
Thank you. Helen Alessi.
Hola y buenas noches. Estoy aquí representando 17% de esta ciudad. I am here representing 17% of this city. %24 de los muchachos en la escuela son hispanos. 24% of the kids in the school district are Hispanic. Ustedes acaban de decir que podemos usar language line. Podemos tener, eso no sirve. Eso es muy malo. Language line doesn't work. I just tested it in the back of the room. You understand? I'm here representing these people. I take this very, very seriously. We were the essential workers during COVID. We were the ones in the hospitals without insurance. We were the ones saving all of your butts for months and months and months. And you can't even have the decency to have somebody who speaks Spanish here? I'm shaking. I'm so upset. I'm not feeling well, and I said, hell, I gotta go. Because these folks, they're gonna do the right thing. They're gonna have somebody that will interpret in Spanish. They're gonna have paperwork so people could take it home. They're going to have folks with headsets that you could interpret to the individual. Please, don't be lazy. This is for us, taxation without representation. And le estoy rogando, I am begging you to please do the right thing. We get ignored. We are invisible. Our people are afraid to come out because they're afraid to get deported, even if they are here legally. We're good neighbors. We're hard workers. We're taking care of your grandparents, your parents. We're taking care of your children. We're taking care of your gardens and your backyards. We're cleaning your windows. We're cleaning the inside of houses. I am so done with this. Don't ignore us. We've crossed borders through deserts to be here. It's the best country in the world. My father came from communist Cuba, my mother from Puerto Rico. Both those countries, when people hit this land, they can get to stay, right? Puerto Ricans are Americans. But the people coming from El Salvador and Honduras, Guatemala, Nicaragua, I can list them all, Venezuela, they're here. They're here. And you got to pony up. You have to pony up now.
Miss Alessi, could I ask you a quick question? First, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here, for making your voice heard, and for testing the language line. Thank you for doing that. It's especially concerning that we don't have proper translation services, that we don't have people here, that we don't have functioning language line in light of the changes in the county over the last decade. You talked about Long Beach. That's really important information. You may know, I think that the Latino population in Nassau County has grown by something like 30% in the last 10 years.
Right.
So it's a dramatic increase, and I don't believe that there's any representation in the county legislature. Latino residents in Nassau County, I don't believe, have any candidates from those communities in our county legislature.
No, we do not.
So,
and African Americans as well.
Yeah, so exactly. So I'm grateful to you for coming here. Now, I want to make sure that we have a clear record and that we have the information we need to hopefully make sure that this doesn't happen again. So could you elaborate on what the problem is with the language line and how it doesn't work? And I know you gave other recommendations that I hope that our chair could arrange to happen in future meetings. But if you could elaborate on the language line, I would appreciate that.
I asked to use language line. I was told go to the back of the room. First of all, why are we in the back of the room? Again, It's dehumanizing. We have this lovely lady here. You could say lovely. I hope you said lovely. This lovely lady here. I go back there. I ask for language line. They try to set it up. Language line cannot hear what is happening. What are you saying? What are we saying? They take me to the outer room. So now I'm completely out of the room. Estoy afuera. Con alguien que yo no conozco. I'm with somebody I don't even know. And he says, okay, we're here. We're going to please begin to, and he's walked away because he's got other things to do, I'm sure, to find out what the gentleman is saying. Ma'am, I don't understand. I can't hear what they're saying. I'm so sorry. I cannot help you. Now, you all are paying for that on our taxpayer dollars. You're paying for it. At least test the system. At least test the system.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'll join in that. Thank you very much. We need to, thank you. I do appreciate it. I was always taught that. I always have to say, you're welcome. Oh, the thank you is not complete. And thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. We will find out what the problem is. We will try to find a solution. And thank you for bringing it to our attention. You are, by the way, the first person to bring it to our attention, but I appreciate that. Thank you. Sanji Jindal.
Good evening, everyone. And I am listening all the testimonies, and one of the gentlemen from you guys said that you can just advise them. Is that enough? And we all took the time out and come here, and we are attending approximately every meeting for the redistricting process. We are spending time with you to get the fair share out of it. Is going to be enough that you are just going to advise and they're going to do whatever they want to do? I'm aiming and come from the biggest democracy in the world to the oldest democracy in the world. Why I came here? Why I came here? Because I understood the word democracy means. We all are here to protect our country's democracy, that we are going to be part of it. Gerrymandering, it's a very fancy word to say, but why we remember him when we call gerrymandering? If there is 6 democratic districts or the cities, if 6 is the Republican, and if I am going to do the gerrymandering, we can win by 75% of it. It's equal 50%, but we can win with the 75% of it. Why we need to remember gerrymandering? The reason is, we are here when we say that freedom and justice for all, and every day we say that. And is there happening the freedom and justice for all? What is our concern here? Did you guys ever look the districts that whosoever is the legislator are going to approve it? It is look like snakes. It's look like bow arrows. And you are connecting with 2 neighborhoods with just 1 block? Come on. Is that fair? You are here listening every single comment. Look at the district number 14. Look at the district number 2nd. Look at the district number 16. Look at the district number 17. Look at the district number 3rd. We should be ashamed for it. What we are doing. For last 10 years, we are bearing that burden on our shoulders. And still we say that it's a fair representation. Come on. And God is watching you, not God is watching you. Now people are getting empowered too. It is not the same word as you guys doing it, whatever you think is going to be true. You going to choose the people that they're going to vote for you, your communities? No, it's not going to be happen anymore. Let people choose their leaders rather than leaders are going to choose their voters. When you gave the authority to let people choose their leaders, then the democracy is going to be established. Then the fair share is going to be there. That is the only way we can protect our democracy. Otherwise, our fundamental rights are going to be staked. If we are going to say that 50% population on this side and 50% population on this side, and we can win by 75%, come on. Thank you.
Please, thank you very much. Is there any other business that we need to go through? We have a motion to adjourn. What?
Why don't we just say we have no further business if anyone else, and we'll hang out here for 10 minutes and finish our stuff. Yeah, we don't, that's fine. And for future notices, we could just say it starts at 6 and don't pay any time.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion to do adjourn.
If there are no further speakers, then I would join up. We do have a hand up, 2 hands up. Mr. Chairman, then I'll move back to you.
Can we get a card filled out for our record?
That solves that problem.
Mr. Maroney, could I just ask a question? Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
About what's on the website relating to the dates of the future meetings. When I checked this evening, the only one that was listed was October 20th, the Oyster Bay one. Yet nothing mentioned about the 13th or the 18th or the 26th. I know you said you talked about 7-day notice, but I think it would be appreciated by the community if those dates were also put on the website.
Ma'am, would you put your name and address on the record, please?
It's Barbara Epstein, 120 New York. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, let me answer that question. We had, at the last meeting, agreed upon certain dates to have hearings. It took some time to get all the information, and all the information wasn't given to us until yesterday. So we then put these together. That notice to change the dates is in the works, and it will go out so that we amend the sheet that shows all of the different dates, including the new ones that we put together. So thank you for your bringing that up again, because I didn't quite understand the question the last time, but it was there. We got, as I said, we've only got all the information together today, or yesterday, and today actually, and we already are working on an amended list. But we now have 2.
I would just add to that.
Sure. The new dates are as follows, and they all are from 6 p.m. until finish. in Freeport on October 13th, 2022, needless to say. Glen Cove on the 18th day of October. Oyster Bay on the October 20 of 2022. And Elmont on October 26, 2022. There is another one that's cooking, but we don't have a location yet, and as soon as we get that, we'll add that to the list. Okay?
I would add, I appreciate the speaker's comments and the request for more than 7 days' notice. Many of these dates have been agreed upon for quite some time, some of them for over a week at this point, some of them for weeks. And as soon as we learned of the dates, we put them up on the shared drive that we've made publicly available because the website has been so insufficient. We've had all of those dates listed on our shared drive, so anybody who goes to the shared drive that we've circulated and my colleague Commissioner Cashaw talked about at the outset, you can at least get those dates there, because unfortunately the website has been so insufficient throughout this process.
Not to be argumentative, but you leave me no choice. It took me 3 emails to your council and to Dave Mejias to get the information that was necessary in order to move forward. That information came to me 2 days ago. So if there's a problem, the problem was in getting the communications back from the people who are working on your side. Now, I apologize for bringing this up, but I can't stand it when somebody tries to shift the blame to somebody else. That drives me crazy, and I will not accept it, and I will not tolerate it. I apologize to all of you. He feels good. I feel good. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, at the end of the day, those dates have been on our shared drive. They're not on the official website.
Because the dates didn't have a location.
And Mr. Chairman,
You just want to put locations up? Come to Freeport. We're in Freeport.
Mr. Chairman, people can plan their schedules. People can plan their schedules if they know when, if they know the general area. All I'm saying is we should do everything we can to provide the public with transparency. It was a reasonable request from members of the public to provide more than 7 days' notice. I agree with that request, and we've done everything we can as information is available to make it public, and I hope that can be reflected on the official website moving forward.
Do we have a motion to adjourn? Oh, I'm sorry. I got distracted. Marty Lilly.
Marty Lilly, I spoke 10 years ago. We were here, I think, 11 hours that night. My wife spoke earlier, and she's the main reason I live in Long Beach. But that's another story. I want to state an observation for the benefit of both sides here. By the way, Mr. Maroney, I don't know if you remember me or not. You and I spoke a couple of times 10 years ago, and I appreciated that time because you were pretty genuine. But you stated now you can't stand it when somebody blames somebody else. I'm 77 years old. That's been the story of my life, people blaming me for things. Get used to it. It's part of the job. But the observation that I have is something hasn't changed from 10 years ago. 10 years ago, the folks on this side, I think they were on that side, they might have been over here. Yeah, they seemed genuinely interested in what people here had to say. They posed questions of clarification. You did that tonight. 10 years ago, the folks on this side had almost nothing to say. In fact, I caught some of you yawning, and I understand it's a tough job to be a volunteer for this kind of work, and I really appreciate what you've done. I've volunteered my whole life to do a million things, and anyway, that's my observation, that this side seems to want more information. This side doesn't.
Michael DeLaurie.
Good evening, members of the board. Michael DeLaurie, Long Beach, New York. Didn't have any intention of speaking tonight, but what I've heard tonight gives me concern that your next public hearing, you need to be more connected to the audience. You need a translator like Miss Helen Dorado Alisi, and I would also recommend that you, if you don't have a translator, maybe you could reach out and maybe Helen could provide one or two people that would be willing to attend. Mr. Lamparter spoke because this seems like it's going to head to a special master. And that's a waste of $985,000 of taxpayer money and all of your time. I'm a former city councilman here, and I pride myself on, along with other council members that were on the council, of providing a transparency portal. I'm a transparent person. I'll tell you exactly how I feel, and if you want to take the credit for my idea, go right ahead, if it makes their lives better, because if their lives are better, my life is better. We have many neighborhoods in Long Beach which are indicative also of the county. We have the West End, we have the East End, we have the North Park, we have the West Holman Walks, and there's many civic leaders, and a lot of the recommendations that come forth and ideas come from smart people. So my request today is listen to those that have made requests to you. You're all educated people. You have different ideologies, I understand that. But you're all Nassau County neighbors. So if you can just get through to this one concept. Mr. Chairman, you had mentioned, I think there was 73,500 individuals that you now have to allocate contiguous space. I look at it as kind of easy to do unless there's something else that enters the equation. I don't have to say, we all know what the equation is, but let's see if we can avoid that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else? Motion to adjourn? Motion, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We'll see you all in Freeport.